Ready? Camera, lights, action. All right, awesome. Well, we are the Watseka School Edition group, and thank you for making an appearance. So just again to summarize our sponsor background is the city of Watseka. Initially, our first contact was Mayor Alhans, but since our last presentation, we have been able to get in contact with the superintendent, Gary Miller, as well as the principal of the existing school that we'll be adding to, who is Jessica Holt. And then this is just kind of their current school situations. They have 4 buildings, kind of PK through first, as well as a 2nd to 4th, and then 5th, 8th, and 9th to 12th as well. Our mission statement is just to kind of design a space to transfer students from the Nettie Davis Elementary to Kendall Elementary as well. We want to include things like a full-size gymnasium, performing arts center, a new cafeteria, and a possible swimming pool as well. Through our time in designing, we'll have 3 different models that we present to Watseka, a PK to 4th edition, a PK to 8th, and then an entirely new PK to 8th edition. This is the overhead view of where their high school is. This is Kendall right here, where we'll be adding to. We'll have all this space here. This is all property owned by the school district, and then this is their high school over here that we don't really have to mess with. All of our stuff will be going on over there.
So as you can see here, this is the flood zone currently representing or surrounding our area. This is where the water comes up to normally when it floods during the springtime of the season. And so we would have to elevate the area that we're working with right here or build farther back so that the flooding isn't a problem. Some design objectives that we have are accommodating the PK through 4th grades into one of our designs and accommodating or incorporating the 5th through 8th grades into the other 2 designs. We have to account for flooding in all of these designs, so making sure that we have the right elevations and that we are outside of the flood zone. And we are going to include a new parking lot, bus lane, gymnasium, cafeteria, tornado shelter, performing arts center, and swimming pool. So our main functional requirement is that we have enough space to accommodate all of the students that are currently enrolled in these schools. In the PK through 1st, there are 146 students currently. In the Wanda Kendall, which we're working with, the 2nd through 4th building has 225 students. The 5th through 8th grade has respectively 65, 77, 64, and 82 students. And there are 73 teachers across all of those grades. The other functional requirements that we're going to have to abide by are that we follow the standard building codes such as the IBC, plumbing codes, mechanical codes, electrical codes, fire safety codes, and that we don't deviate from anything that could go wrong in those factors. We're also going to have enough parking for the staff and for any visitors that would want to be attending, such as parents or people who are attending sports festivals or sports games. We're going to make sure that we have sufficient room numbers and sizes so that all of the students and faculty have enough space to inhabit the facility, and that also that we will be less susceptible to flooding in our designs. So some of the funding that we have for our project, some of the sources are federal, state, and local. On the federal side, there is currently the pre-disaster mitigation grant program, but that will be ending in 2019, so we'll be moving to the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Community grant program. Currently, the PDM assists communities to prevent any natural disasters that would occur, and that's essentially kind of what the BRIC is incorporating, making sure that we're protecting against future disasters and also analyzing it on a cost-benefit analysis to make sure that everything will be economically the best it could be for the municipality. State funding that we have is the USDA Community Facilities Direct Loan and Grant Program. The USDA is the United States Department of Agriculture, and they are also helping out in communities that aren't necessarily able to help out themselves with state funding. Their grant program, some requirements is that the population of the community has to be less than 5,000, and they are awarding up to 75% grant funding for communities that have a median income less than 60% of the Illinois State metropolitan income level. Lastly, there's the local option of funding, and this includes levy options. So the DLR group, Watseka School Consultants, proposed that if there was a 30% or a 30-cent tax increase, that they would accrue $8.6 million, which would leave extra funds for emergencies in case of flooding or anything else that could happen in the town. And since their current debt limit is $10.5 million, that leaves us a range to still work within for our economics.
Now, some of our design constraints include that we want to limit the design, no matter what we choose, whether it's an addition or a completely new building, to one story, so we can avoid extra codes and regulations that we would have to work around. If we do build a connected addition, we'll have to make sure that there's a firewall between the old and the new parts of the building, so that it meets up to standards. And then also, if we do a walkway to connect the two buildings, we'll need that separation to help with fire safety. Now, the design of the building for the allotted space that the school owns, obviously we have to keep it within the constrained space that we have, so we'll make sure to do that. Also, our project will need to be under budget. We still don't know exactly what budget we have to work with, so we'll need to continue to communicate with our sponsor for that information. And then, obviously, as Krishan was talking about the floodplain, we'll have to make sure that it's out of the floodplain or above the floodplain so that it is protected from flooding. Now, some more information about us. Andrew here is going to be our chief Revit modeler and MEP designer. I'm going to be our team's project reporter / background researcher. Krishan over here will be our group ambassador and finance coordinator. He'll be working a lot with our sponsor directly. And then more on the civil side, Joe will be our design implementer and code regulation advisor, helping us work through all those details. And then Ju will be our schedule administrator and project organizer. So as far as the mechanical and electrical aspect goes towards our project, every group member will be contributing to that area of research and integration. As a lot of us don't have a lot of direct experience with any of those areas, we'll be working together to help make sure that we can do the best that we can with that aspect. And then with the structural side of things, our group will be receiving some assistance from our Professor Reagan, who's our advisor, and in calculating accurate design loads for the building. And then our deliverables for this project include floor plan drawings and construction documents of our designs. And then our preliminary sketches will include a design for an addition accommodating our pre-K through 4th school option, also a design for an addition accommodating a pre-K through 8th option, and then lastly the design for the complete new building option. And then once we narrow it down to our final idea, we're going to hope to get a bid package going for the city.
Just a few stretch goals that we kind of have as a team. Some things we'd like to do, but not entirely necessary for the project. Something Mayor Allhands kind of was interested in was having a community pool, something that was open for the entire general public. And then kind of a school provides a tornado shelter or just severe weather shelter for students. Naturally, I'm sure we all remember going to the hallways on our knees with books over our necks. But All Hands was also interested in opening up a larger shelter for general public as well. And then the school system currently doesn't have a professional drawing of their existing building. So we thought maybe that could be something we would provide for them. And as you'll see later on, we kind of already have that. It would just be specifying correct dimensions and then adding a little more minor details in there as This is their existing sketch so far, or their existing building. So as you can see there, it's a pretty good floor plan of all their classrooms and kind of their multi-purpose room there in the center, with office space and kind of a rough, go on the dimensions. It's not exact, to what they have, but those things can easily be adjusted.
So as you can see here, this is one of the initial designs offered by another architecture group, and that was offered by JHB Architects. And it incorporates having the existing school right here, but a huge addition coming off, and parking would come along here from the existing road in front of the school and come down into this area behind the facility.
And these, this is your section.
So this is where the existing building is with the existing classrooms and such. One of our ideas was to create a new building coming directly off of it, but having a firewall separating these classrooms right here and this area right here, so that if one area did happen to catch fire, then it wouldn't spread to the rest of the building. We designed for a new gymnasium in this area because this area right here is currently being used multi-purposely as a cafeteria and a gymnasium. So we would make this area just entirely cafeteria with the kitchen right here and have that area be the gymnasium. There's also room for a band or performing arts center down there, and several different exits coming out as necessary for occupancy.
Now this is a pretty good representation of our design so far. We have for a PK through 8th grade edition. This is their current situation there, and everything over here would all be part of the addition. We have room for a library there, and then this green line, green rectangle outlines a standard basketball court, just kind of demonstrating that this space is large enough for a proper gymnasium, and then this could also inhibit band concerts or any kind of performing arts that you need. This addition adds 14 classrooms, as well as a full-size cafeteria, with relocating offices as well. This is just one 3D view of it. This would be the front entrance there, and we'd have a new road and bus lane on this side as well. And this is just another 3D view, kind of giving you another angle on the building.
Okay, so I'm going to go over some of the current issues that our team is facing. The first issue that we are facing is that our response time between our sponsor is quite slow. It takes roughly 3 to 5 days after we email them to get a response from them, and that usually doesn't include the actual answer that we're looking for. We usually have to contact someone else, and that kind of plays into our time availability. So as the semester picks up, it's harder for our group to meet consistently. One way we've been working to get around this is that we will meet with not all 5 of our team members. This really helped fix that issue. Another issue that we were having is in our Revit ability. So we have finished our preliminary sketches, but more things that we have to do in Revit include the mechanical systems and the electrical systems. And in our building information modeling class, we haven't really went over any of that. So that's going to be part of our lack of knowledge. We have to learn that on our own through further research.
And for the final note, I just want to take you guys through the update. So currently, we are working towards preparing some designs. We just keep going at the drawings. As you see, Andrew, our main Revit guy, has really been drawing up some good stuff on Revit, and we're really getting the ball moving on that. Krishan has been talking with Watsika, and they gave us some designs to go off of, so that's really helping us. The second thing we're working towards is turning in assignments for senior design. We're keeping up with the proposed plans that Clay is giving us, and we're just making sure we get those in time. We split up the work evenly, and we get together and we get those done on time. And finally, Krishan has been the main communicator with Watsika. He's keeping them on their toes and making sure they're getting us the stuff we need. So, and that's all. Any questions?
You guys don't have, don't know which option you're doing, or are you doing all three? I'm confused about that. Like, I know you guys have like 3 options, where it's like the 2 are additions and 1's a new school. Which one are you guys doing?
We're designing for all 3, making sure that we have capacities and sufficient room sizes and numbers for all 3 of them. But once we present to the board, or once we present to the Watsika community, then we will be able to determine which they're most fond of and which we can complete our bid package for.
When do you guys present?
We haven't scheduled a meeting yet, but they do have a public works meeting the 2nd Tuesday of every month. So it'd be around the 15th of December that we could meet with them if we scheduled that. Otherwise, we would have to meet with them after the semester's over next year.
If you added a new gymnasium to the school, what would you do with the existing multipurpose space?
We would just kind of allow them to fill that space with whatever they deemed necessary, whether that meant they want to do a performing arts center solely in that space, or kind of if they want to, obviously if you have a school that's completely PK through 8th, you kind of want to keep the younger grades separate from kind of the older, so that existing school could just stay PK of 2nd grade maybe, and that could be a cafeteria / kind of stay what it is now, multi-purpose cafeteria and gymnasium for those specified grades.
Also in the PK through 4th option, when we add the new gymnasium, then the space that's currently the gymnasium cafeteria can be fully devoted to being a cafeteria.
Based off of their models, their kind of sketches that they gave us, their dimensions were handwritten in, so we were not quite sure how precise they are. But based off of those, that area isn't even regulation size for a basketball court, which, yes, isn't really necessary for grades that young, because you're most likely not playing in a school system, if at all. But as you get up to the older grades, you start having school sports, so that was one reason why we needed a new gymnasium.
Yes. Go ahead, Joel.
I was just curious, on the picture, like the aerial view, like there's kind of a cutout with a tree line. Are you guys sticking in that tree line, or are you guys going out into like the field that was around it?
Yeah, so that's something that we could easily cut down and build into if need be. We don't really have the precise measurement of the space that's out there that we'd be allowed to if we weren't to touch the trees at all. That was kind of something we had thought about maybe going out there for another trip, just kind of get our bearings of the space that we have as far as dimensionings, because that addition that we have would be fairly large, so we're not sure how close we'd be getting up to those trees.
You guys, we have an architect that we can connect with for some of the other design stuff that you gotta deal with, like the electrical mechanical stuff. Is the DLR group, are they architects? No.
They're just the school consultants.
Okay, so they don't really have anything to do with design.
Right, so we had thought we could work with Schroeder a little bit, if we know he's
Okay,
had some experience in,
mechanical.
yeah. And then I've also got a contact, last year graduated Corey Kusi,
Okay, for electrical.
right, who's doing electrical building systems, and I've already reached out to him multiple times,
Okay,
so.
so we've got those, so we got 3 of those things dealt with. How about like sort of the architectural issues like egress, you know, egress, ingress, the number of exterior doors you gotta have, that sort of thing. Do we have anybody to talk to about that?
In our intro to architectural class, we actually went over that.
Okay.
So I think that's something that our group
So you may already have that covered.
would be able to do.
Okay, and then, okay, yeah, all right, that's fine. Just want to make sure we hit all major topics, that way we've got plans prepared on how to deal with it. Okay. And then, did you do the site plan yet?
We have that next semester.
Okay, that's next semester. Because I know you've been sketching quite a few, but it didn't, so we didn't settle on anything yet.
We haven't said all of it.